Hello and welcome to the first video on how to create your very own video game. This video game is just going to be for computers, PC, and I'll show you how to create it for like Mac and Linux and stuff like this. However, this video is going to be just for Windows platforms like Windows 7 or Windows 8 or older or previous versions. So here's the Unity 5.1 update. It's actually quite new from what I've used to. Um, I completely forgot. Like, you have to have Unity to start creating this game. This is what we'll be using to create our game. It's professional software to create games. It's I don't want to say easy to use, but I want to say it's very, very handy. Um, it is free, but if you get the free version, you don't like get complete everything like everything like graphics and stuff like that for free. You have to go pro and all that, but you can make a decent game with the free version. So when you open this, go ahead and hit 3D. We won't be using the asset packages. We'll just import them manually, and you can leave the destination unless you have your own. Go ahead and hit create project, and we shall wait until the program opens, which it shouldn't take long. And unless you have assets selected, then it might take a little bit because it has to import the assets. That's why I like to do it manually. And it's taking a bit longer than what it usually does to open. It probably has to do with me recording because it's taking up a lot of CPU. So, come on, let's do this. There we go. So, let me just move that up here. And, oh my gosh, oh my god. There we go. There we go. That looks good. We can't bring that down. Oh wow, I'm so not used to this. Yeah, there. Let's just do that. Sorry about that. I should have planned this out better before I started recording. There, that should work. Okay, so in this episode we're just going to go over like the navigation through the 3D scene here and what everything does. So let's start from top to bottom. Up here we have the tool strip. We have like file, which I mean we all know what the file does because we see it on like text editors and all this other stuff. You got create, new, save, build, and all that stuff. You got the edit, which you can change the I guess what everything looks like, and then work on the project settings, graphics, all that stuff. You got assets, which is you can create like the scripting, a folder, prefab, which means an object. It can be an empty object or it can be an actual object where a user can like I can't talk today. Use or something like that. Audio mixer, which I never use it because I have a separate program for that. Materials, which is a texture for an object or a prefab, whatever you want to call it, and just all this other stuff. And game object, which you can create objects within the 3D scene and the game, which is 3D object. We got the cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, quad, ragdoll, terrain, tree, wind zone. I don't know why the terrain is under 3D because the terrain is actually, technically speaking, 2D because a terrain, it's infinite. Well, not in this program, to be honest. It's actually, if I create a terrain in geometry, it's actually infinite. But, ooh, okay, there we go. I have to zoom out a lot here. But it is big, looks like. So, but yeah, as you can see, it's not 3D. It's just a line. But we're not going to go off on all that mathematical stuff. So now we have the drag where you can move around the 3D scene here, and then we have the move, which you can move an object, which go to main camera. We can now then move the camera around the 3D scene, and the camera is used for the game, as you can see here. And then we have the directional light, which is good. I can go ahead and mention this while we are here. If you move it, the lighting will actually not change. And it won't change now because we have no objects, but because a directional light actually works by rotation, which that means you'll come here to rotate, and you can actually rotate, and you can see the lines moving. That means the light will change, but like I said, you won't be able to see it because we have no objects within the scene. And now we have the scaling tool, which, since we have a main camera and directional light, that means we have no objects to scale. I'm pretty sure you can't scale. Yeah, you can't scale any of these. Scaling just means to make it bigger or smaller, or change the size of the width or height. So that's what scaling does. And we actually have a new tool here, which I don't know which version this came out. I think it actually just came out. It's fairly new. You can't, as you see, you can't actually use it because it only works on 2D, as far as I know, 2D things like UI, GUI, and stuff like that, with which I can show you if I create a canvas, which is going to be under UI. Note now see how those blue dots came up. That means it's compatible with this. So I have to zoom out quite a lot again, or I can just do that. You can also double click, and it'll take you to it. And if you select a scene and hit F, it'll also do it too. It'll focus on it. That's what it stands for. And then with this selected, you can like change it. Oh, so it won't let me change it. Well, it's because there's nothing within the canvas. So I don't want to go over all this right now because there's so many other things that we have to go over. But once we get to it, I'll discuss what it all does. And now we have okay, we already discussed the scene, which we can also, as you can see, navigate around our game once we actually have a game. And then we have the gaming tab, which allows us to play our game within the software, which is really cool. And we have a couple options here. We can maximize on play, which, excuse me, if we hit play, of course we can't do anything because there's nothing to do. And then we have mute audio, which just, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. It mutes everything, everything that's audio. And we got stats, which shows you like the FPS of the game or something like that, and all this other stuff that I honestly do not know. It looks like it tells you like the screen width and everything too. And gizmos just shows you where everything is within the scene. As you can see here, the directional light looks like that. And if we go back to the game, it shows us where it's at, which is actually really handy. And you can also change how it renders out. So this is handy when you're creating a GUI, or how I like to call it, GUI and stuff. Yeah. And then I usually use free aspect a lot. So now we come over here. Oh, I forgot to. This is the hierarchy tab, which means what, like, I can create. Right click to create empty. Double click and nothing pops up because it's empty. Create object, but yeah, this is where all the stuff goes. So if I wanted to create a cube, that'll pop up right there, and we have a cube. And when we want to go to the cube, we can just select cube. Okay, which we don't need now. And if we come over here to the right, we have the inspector tab, which is another word for settings or properties for a certain object. So if we go to main camera, we get all this other settings to do with just the camera. So we can change the position, the rotation, and also the scale manually using the numbers and stuff, which is really handy sometimes. And then we have the actual camera part where we can change how we can see. Oh, and we have user player settings, whatever that means, and we have the GUI layer, which we actually have no GUI. Flares for like sun or bright lights, and then audio listeners for like 3D sound and or just sound overall. You can also hit this add component, and it gives you all sorts of objects, like if let's say if we wanted to add an animation to this camera where it just moves like that, what we'll have to do is first create the animation through this animation tab. Now this won't pop out when you first download it. You have to go to Windows Animation or Window Animation and it'll pop up. So you'll create it, and then you go to add component, and you'll go to like you'll just type in animation and then add the animation clip through here. Now let's say that you added besides using the animation, you used scripting. Code is what I mean by scripting. So what you'll do is go to we actually have no script, so there's a tab that will pop up after you have a script. It will say scripts, and you'll just select a script, but there is no script, so we'll have to create one. We won't be creating one though. Now below we have the project tab, which is where everything will be go, where you can actually create prefabs, which is objects, and just click and drag it up into the hierarchy tab. Assets, this whole assets part can be also you can also view it through a folder, and you can just manually add stuff to it like that as well. Console will give you notifications, warnings, and errors with your game. The game will not play if you have an error. And the animation, I've already went over that. So the pretty much the last thing, which looks like we're wrapping this up with pretty good time, we have the shaded, which this is how you'll see the game. Like, well, no, I'm sorry. This is how you'll see it through the 3D view of your game. You can change it where it's all wireframe or shaded with wireframe and all this other stuff. Well, not technically. I'm sorry about that. You actually won't be using this very often. I don't use it often. So 2D, we have where you can change it to 2D view if you're creating a 2D game, but we are actually creating a 3D game. So yeah, so if you were making a 2D game, you can change that. You have the lights, which you can turn on and off. So let's see, I have time to show you guys. So right click 3D object cube. Notice that we have the directional light. Now pay attention to the block as I rotate the directional light around. See how it gets darker? That is because the light part of it is turned on. We can actually turn that off, and as we can rotate this as many times as we want, and I can still actually kind of see it. It's actually supposed to disable it, and it doesn't look like it is, so that will have to be an internal problem with the application. And you can also hear sound from your game. We don't have any sounds playing, so, or have any audio, matter of fact, so you won't be able to hear anything. I actually don't know. Okay, so this shows you pretty much everything already in your game. So like if we had something with a picture, we can click that and we'll be able to see it. Shows you the skybox, of course, and then it can show you the fog, which we don't have fogs, the flares or animated materials. So like I said, if we had the main camera animated, we would be able to see that. So that is actually pretty much it. I've went over pretty much everything that I know on how to use the program, which everything I taught you is pretty much all you need to know basically to make a pretty decent game. If you want me to go into more details of what everything does, go ahead and just let me know. But for now, this concludes this episode on how to create your own game, and I will see you in the next episode when we will actually get started creating the game.